Hey guys, I'm Stanley, and this is my dad. He's been a little sad recently, because he's no longer allowed to challenge me. This might sound a little strange to you, but once, I almost lost my dad, and I got scared to death. Here's the story. When I was born, my dad was already 50 years old. I was kind of a long, hoped-for baby for him. That's probably why he's always been kind of over-enthusiastic about things connected with me. For example, when I was a kid, my dad spent much more time with me than my mum did. He was the one who taught me how to walk, to read, to ride a bike, and everything else. And I was happy to have my dad nearby. But as I grew older, his attention became really irritating. When my friends would come over to play video games, for instance, my dad would join us, or when we all got together to get ready to take part in a skateboarding contest, Dad bought a skateboard for himself and insisted that I teach him how to ride it. At first, my friends said they felt awkward about my dad always hanging out with us. But when he started wearing the exact same clothes that I did, everybody at school began mocking me, calling me the son of a weirdo. And of course, I felt embarrassed. Once I tried to explain to my dad that I don't want him to behave like that, but I probably chose a bad time to do this. It was late in the evening, and I was already late to go meet my friends. So I was really in a hurry when I came across my dad with a basketball in the backyard of our house. I wanted to borrow his car so that I could get to my friend's house faster, but he said I could only borrow it if I won, the short game. I really needed his car, so I had to agree. And because I was in a hurry, I was down 2 points to him in the first minute. Dad said he was sorry, but since I hadn't won, I couldn't take his car. Honestly, I didn't want to yell at him, but this stuff with this overwhelming need to be my pal and this untimely stupid jokes had finally driven me nuts. I can't remember exactly what came out my mouth, but I definitely said a lot of offensive things to him. And then I just left to go see my friends. I was really angry and somehow managed to avoid talking to my dad for the next couple days. From time to time, I thought that I should probably apologize, but at the same time, I felt like I was right. Whatever happens, happens for the best, right? But one night my mum knocked on my door and said we needed to talk. After that talk, I felt like I was the worst person ever, because Mum had actually explained to me why Dad was being so annoying. She told me he had cancer, and he knew he was going to die very soon, like in less than a year, probably. So he wanted to spend as much time with me as he could. He didn't want me to know about his health condition, because he didn't want me to miss my teenage life by being with him, because of his illness. Mum told me that they'd been aware of Dad's diagnosis for a couple of months, and he had already been under treatment several times. But the prospects, unfortunately, were still disappointing. That's why my dad so badly wanted me to remember him as an active and cool guy. That was the worst news I'd ever gotten. Of course, I promised my mum that I would keep the fact I knew everything a secret and be more kind to my dad. But it was kind of unnecessary. I would be nice to him, even if she hadn't asked me. I had the whole night to think over that situation. And the next day, my apology to my dad was literally the first thing I did. Since then, I have become more patient with his quirks. But it had gotten really hard to do because now I'd met a girl. Her name was Jess. We had met at a coffee shop, and when I saw her, I thought that she was the most beautiful girl I'd ever seen. It took me 4 days to find the courage to talk to her, and I felt like the happiest guy in the city when she actually agreed to go out with me. But I screwed up our first date, and the second one too, and I'd completely missed the third one. I don't want to blame my dad for everything, but he had actually played a part in this. You see, he needed something from me right at the same time that I was going out on these dates, and taking his condition into consideration, I just couldn't refuse to spend time with him. So because I consistently let her down, Jess had gotten tired of me being late all the time, and she dumped me. I was devastated. I was mad at the situation, and mad at myself for being incapable of managing my relationships with people. Apparently my mood had been reflected right on my face, because eventually Dad had found out that I had had bad luck with love. He tried to cheer me up, and we went to the mountains to go hiking. It was almost physically hard to be alone with my dad. I mean, there was not a soul there, and I felt so sad. I knew someday he would be gone, so I tried to remember every single detail of that hike. In the evening, when we were sitting next to the fireplace roasting some hot dogs, Dad decided to tell me everything. It was a hard talk between two men, and I felt that I got older in just a few minutes. I'd been trying badly not to cry, but telltale tears were running down my face. Even though I had already known about his illness, it was hard to hear about it from him. I don't know why, but I couldn't admit that I already knew everything. I could barely speak at all, if I'm honest. Even though this happened a couple of months ago, it's still hard to remember everything. Well, Dad ended up saying that he was no longer going to insist that I spend time with a sick old man. But that time I really wanted to be with him on my own. and to make him feel like he was the coolest dad and the best friend ever. The next morning, we decided to swim across the lake nearby. For sure, it was not my idea, but I promised to be supportive. I was leading in that challenge, by the way. But when I finished, I suddenly noticed that Dad wasn't looking good. We had to rush to the hospital as fast as we could. Dad was fading in and out of consciousness a couple of times while I was driving, and that had scared me to death. The whole way, I was silently praying to God to not take my dad away. It was only once I got to the hospital that I realized how many traffic rules and speed regulations I must have violated to save my old man. That time we were lucky, and Dad survived. Doctors promised that he would live a little while longer. However, he definitely needed to stop all these challenges, as they said. Well, this part was fine with me. Now I'm ready to try out my luck with Jess one more time, and Dad said he'd be very happy to meet my girlfriend, whoever she was. If you guys enjoyed my story, click the like button so that I can see it, and feel free to subscribe to this channel. There are many more other interesting videos and stories that have actually happened. Good luck!